So naturally, I'm biased, but this is the most important debate. Okay, so everyone is okay with the format? And we've drawn numbers to decide who will be going the order. And so we will start with Ranish. In your platform, you discuss study space, and one strategy to increase study space is to store library books to an off-campus location and utilize free space for mixed use. The library staff often cite surveys that show that students still want books to be in the library. How will you accomplish your goal despite this information? And we'll begin with Luke, Stefan, then Ranish.
There's a lot of value of having books on campus. It's a way for students to come and find the research right away and have easy access. I think there's also a big concern over cost. People don't see that, but you have to rent out another space. You have to pay for people to pull books to transport them. So it's a loss of this easy access and additional cost for the space, when I think there's other dead space on campus that we could be utilizing just as easily.
So I've already spoken in the past to the librarians, two of the top librarians. Unfortunately, Mark Hazlitt was unavailable for that meeting, and I did discuss with them that survey result, and it does seem to be the case. I think it really will be about improving the study space in the library, would get more people to use it. We currently also do have books off campus, that's what they told me, and so it's something we've already done a little bit of, but I guess we could move to do more of that. Thank you.
So going along the lines of Stefan, thanks for that. When study space is one of the major concerns for students, why invest in a new building when we have the space already and students are already going to the library looking for study space? So putting the books elsewhere or in one of the RIM buildings will actually help and open up the space. And study space is the main concern there. And the books can be allocated within the 24-hour request, which is already in place.
There are now 3 minutes for open debate.
I think there's other ways to increase study space without looking at removing all books, and it doesn't mean we have to build a new building. It's been very effective in M3 and DC, this move towards filling couches and tables in the dead spaces, for example, in the atrium, and that's worked really well, and I know there's been positive reviews on students. So that's something that we can do now, and it's not taking our books away. The other thing, too, is there's different types of study spaces. For someone like myself, the library is not great because it's extremely quiet, and I know I'm not the only student. I need to have some noise and have some conversation to be effective, so we need to make sure we're providing study space for all students, not just for students that study really well in silence.
In my platform, is that okay? In my platform, I'm looking to convert potential classrooms after 6:30 into study spaces for students to use by program, similar to how some engineering classes currently, a mechatronics fourth-year class might have a specific room for all their classes, and then they can be used later on for studying. Also, I'd like to really increase exam study space during exam time because it's really critical and that's when everybody is studying, and as well as just converting as much unused space. We've seen a lot of it in math during my time as president, and I'd like to see that all across campus.
Great point. Oh, is it you, me? All right. Well, I think a book audit should be done because I think certain faculties need books in the library to reference from for last-minute assignments. So, for example, science students, for lab completions or whatnot, they need that book reference. So having those books on campus and moving the rest to an off-campus storage would actually be beneficial, and it opens up floors for mixed study spaces. So for you, there'd be like more larger tables, more group work, so there's noise involved, or couches if you'd like. It's just, I don't find the value in misusing, like, books are not even taken out on a daily basis. I don't even think there's anybody in there right now taking a book out. I'm just saying.
So to kind of go back to Stefan's point about using classrooms for study space after class hours, that's something that actually was started last term. One of the members of our team, Jesse, was on the working committee for that. It was beta tested, it wasn't hugely rolled out, but that'll be something you probably see more of this term and moving forward, and it was fairly successful, but there's no need to campaign on something that's already happening.
Obviously, with a lot of initiatives, they do take time, and as VP Education, I can make it go faster, hopefully, and make it more relevant to all students. I don't believe it's been rolled out very much so far. I haven't spoken to anybody who's used them currently. We also have right now lots of partnerships with a lot of book company, a lot of other universities for their libraries to exchange books.
Do I still have time?
Open debate is now finished. So to clarify, when you see the yellow card, that means your personal time is 10 seconds away from being finished. I'll let you know when open debate is finished.
Card you have? Who's got each card? Okay, cool, thanks.
Okay, Renish, you have 30 seconds to close.
Again, going on that point, a lot of arts classes do run late, so I feel like some professors are already looking for better classroom space to teach their late night classes. Something like BET 300, it's being taught in RCH, professors not happy with that space. And then the larger classrooms, maybe just having the scheduled classes be allocated to bigger classroom spaces for these classes, and then study spaces can be opened up, and yeah.
Okay, the next question is for Stefan. You wish to see the university adopt a grading policy to ensure instructors will return assignments to students in a timely manner. Most faculty, including the Faculty Association, feel that course design is a part of their academic freedom and would not appreciate this infringement on their autonomy. How will you ensure students get a fair deal in the context of academic freedom? We'll begin with Luke, then Renish, then Stefan.
So I think there's a fine balance between getting grades back as soon as possible and actually quality marking. I was talking with some of my professors, and a lot of them really want to do a good job and really provide comments. If you rush that process, then they're not going to get those comments back. What we should have in place is the idea that you get this marks from your first assignment back before the second one, so then education can be a learning curve and not just a grading thing.
So I think this is where TAs can be very useful in giving them the proper training and a better teaching quality for the TAs as well as the professors, so they can help the professors mark assignments on time. So I think it's a great initiative and platform point. That's it.
Thank you, Renish. So yeah, that's one thing, including more TAs when they're not being graded fast enough. And as Luke said, one of the main things of my platform is to get them to make sure people are returning them early enough so that you can build on it. So for topics that build on each other, it's very, very bad when it's not returned fast enough, so students aren't able to learn. I also would like to see people receive their stuff back before the WD deadline or the 50% refund tuition time.
3 minutes of open debate has begun.
I think it's important.
I think that one of the important things to do with something like this is definitely work with the Faculty Association and really find out what their concerns are and how, as a student body, we can work with them to move forward. Because a lot of professors are here because they want to be educators and they want to teach people. So they're not trying to do this to be malicious. There's got to be a good reason. So we need to work with them and find the solutions that work for students and the faculty, so we're all getting a great education when we're here.
So currently I've had meetings with Mario Coniglio to discuss this. He's the Associate Vice President Academic, obviously someone who has a lot of potential input on this, and he was looking forward to me perhaps meeting with the Faculty Association to discuss this. So yes, of course the Faculty Association would play a really big part in this and would be very important in these meetings. Yes, thank you.
For sure. TAs are very useful.
Thank you, Renish. I really agree that, yeah, adding more TAs when it's needed would be really helpful to having assignments returned early enough.
And no more 100% full final courses. That has to go.
Yeah, 100% final courses. Students have no idea at the WD deadline if they're going to be able to pass or do at all well. And at the 50% tuition line, they should be able to get something out of the course in terms of what they, like a graded midterm before before that happens.
Anything else? Thanks. Okay, Luke, you have Stefan, 30 seconds to close.
I'd like to thank both candidates for supporting me on this platform point. I think it's a really great idea, and that I hope that I'd be able to implement it over my year as VP Education. And yeah, I'd like to just continue working with Mario Coniglio on this and trying to make it implement it for students, because I think it'd be really beneficial. And right now, it really isn't fair for students to have to pay potentially 50% of their tuition and not have anything graded for them. Thank you.
Okay, now Luke.
Thank you.
You have identified university enrollment as your main priority. Currently, universities in Ontario are incentivized to grow because of the provincial funding model that gives more money to universities for more students. Why have you not addressed this critical systemic issue in your platform, and what will you do about it if elected? And the order will be Stefan, Ranish, Luke.
So I am aware that the SMA is coming up, or has been submitted right now, and or has been approved by Senate at least. And that will play a big part potentially in future enrollment and future funding. So honestly, enrollment will be a very different conversation within the next coming years, and it will have changed a lot. Working on it potentially for the next year might not be such a great idea, just because with the SMA, it could create a lot of changes. So obviously working with the SMA would be a good idea, but it might not. The ideas that you're looking at won't work potentially.
So just like Adam said, universities are incentivized to have more students come to the university. So I don't understand what we can do as a university where we should be looking at beyond that and address this issue to USA, so it can be addressed to the provincial government and like have a policy made or have the framework for the funding be revised, so the universities are not that incentivized to have more students enrolled. Time.
So nowhere in our platform does it say that we don't recognize that enrollment will grow. Our big concern is that if enrollment's growing, and it will, the university has stated by 2019 that enrollment will go up by 5,000 students, that the resources on campus grow as well to make sure that we're not overstressing what we have here. So that's space, professors, classroom sizes, even co-op, which is already seeing declining employment rates. We need to make sure that these resources are in place. So for the students that we're enrolling, they actually have the same great education that we've all been able to receive coming here.
There are now 3 minutes for open debate.
So I believe in your platform you're looking at creating an enrollment strategy, is that correct?
No, it was edited with the release of the Senate document. If you look now, we recognize the fact that there is enrollment numbers. So now it's more about making sure that as the university grows, that those resources are put in place. And that, like I said, includes space, the idea of working with co-op, and making sure that everyone gets a great education when they're here. But yes, we do recognize that the university is growing.
So in the past few, I guess in the last year, I've worked a lot with the CIU space survey, so I've seen a lot of the issues regarding space with the number of students increasing, and really I do hope to work with that data to try and encourage the university to increase space as enrollment changes, and we are behind on a few points, so on a few percentages, we really are lacking student space and study space, so using the CIU space survey to lobby the university could be very, very effective.
No, go ahead.
In reference to the COU research, it also shows that graduate students use a ton more space, almost twice as much. From that research, the university is also enrolling 1,000 more grad students. We need to be extra careful that we're making sure undergraduates are at the table and are being involved. The other side that no one's really explored and we can talk about is Waterloo doesn't do a great job of using alumni to bring money in, like they did with QNC, but we could be doing that for more projects to increase space, whether it's faculty specific or university wide, because we're graduating some very intelligent people from this school that have been very successful.
So again, why are we just looking at the university level? The university wants the money. They want students to come here. And we should be looking at the overall funding framework for the incentivizing universities and whatnot. So it'll help other universities overall, because just like Waterloo, if we deal with the funding framework, it'll help both Waterloo and other universities itself. So we're not fighting for space or like spending money on and making the campus bigger. Why not use the money more wisely and just share the love?
With the SMA coming up, there is probably great potential that it will already be changing, and the universities will probably be getting funding depending on how they are fulfilling their goals. So for us, it's stuff like entrepreneurial opportunity and stuff like that on the SMA. So I think it is something that's already potentially changing, and just probably having students at the table will probably be most effective through USA.
Totally touched upon my point. Good job.
Anything else? Okay, Luke, you have 30 seconds to close.
So our team definitely recognizes that enrollment will go up. There's no question of that over the next 5 years. So what is most important is that we have a strong student voice at the table to fight for things like making sure that people are getting good co-op jobs, making sure the class sizes aren't getting too large, making sure professors aren't overextended, and they can provide this great quality of education that we all come to expect, and I want all future Waterloo students to have.
Thank you. Stefan, you wish to see the university adopt a fall reading break. One of your proposed strategies is to have Sunday exams. Since many students have religious obligations that conflict with examinations, what should the university do to address examination relief on the basis of religious obligations? And the order will be Ranish, Luke, Stefan.
Again, for including, that's a great idea for including Sunday exams for fall reading week, and to include fall reading week. And I do want to be respectful for religious occasions and whatnot, but everyone has religious days, and they fall on other days other than Sunday, and it's just one Sunday in your exam period, and I don't think that'll be a issue for any student to just write an exam.
There's definitely other days during the week that are religious days. I think the real issue here is that taking away the Sunday days off to put exams in there enough of a value exchange for these reading days? Is it a fair trade? And I don't think that has been explored. I think that there needs to be more discussion before we even explore these reading days to make sure that students are aware that they're going to have to give something up, and if there's value for what they're giving up.
So yeah, as they said, Friday and Saturdays, among other days, are currently religious days, and it's not really correct that Sunday is important for some people, but Friday and Saturday and other days are also important for others. So I'm not sure if, so religious accommodations are already a policy for the university, and there are options for those students, and also the exam shouldn't be the whole day, hopefully, so they would be able to go at other times on the Sunday.
There are now 3 minutes for open debate.
Yes, sir. So during an exam period, I don't think students really realize what day is what. Like, if it's a Tuesday, they don't really know. They just go for the time and they write their exams. So opening it up on a Sunday would be a great benefit for students, because then that way exams will be separated or spread out, well spread out. So that's a great idea. I'm totally for it.
On that note, there's no true proof that adding an extra day will actually make sure that students don't have exams on 2 days. So that would need to be another part of the policy, that if you're moving towards a Sunday, that there needs to be a guarantee that exams are spread out. On top of that, there's also, I think, our team has concerns about fall reading days. That the same thing will happen with the reading week, is that professors will load up on both sides. There'll be a lot of exams and tests right before and right after, and that's not really a stress relief when you're, for 4 days, not only do you have to travel home if it's over Thanksgiving and meet your family, but now you're studying for a whole bunch of extra exams and midterms as well. So that needs to be addressed. So instead of adding an extra day to a long weekend, maybe that's the thing that we need to look at, and making sure that we're not overloading the long weekend that is there already, so students can go home and feel healthy and enjoy themselves.
So that's something that we'll have to hash out more with more consultation with students, and that is one of my main priorities right away when I would get into office, would be consultation on fall reading break, and I really see that as one of my main priorities. Yes. So we do currently have quite a bit of exam relief policy, making sure that there aren't back-to-back exams, and that's something that I have highlighted in my platform that we do need to address. And I'd also like to address, in my platform, there is also exam relief policies concerning final exams, and ensuring that if the exam schedule is released a lot earlier, then students are going to be able to avoid some of that themselves, as long as it's not for especially with the elective courses.
I think getting the schedule out early will help, but it's not the only solution. Right now, the exam relief is in some cases only an hour. So really, what is that helping to have an extra hour between the exam? There needs to be more there.
So in my platform, I do have that I would like to help change exam relief. It is a very, very important issue to me. I've had many, many back-to-back exams, and it's something that I realize does really affect performance and isn't fair for students.
For me, my turn? Oh, shucks. Totally going on the line of Stefan. I believe Adam's working on increasing the time periods, like instead of the hour. Never mind. It'll come back.
Thank you. Stefan, you have 30 seconds to close.
Fall reading break is a really important issue to me. So I believe there is room in the calendar to fit a fall reading break. We do need more consultation, but currently 12 out of the 20 Ontario universities do have a fall reading break, and many of the other universities who don't have one are currently looking at it. There is major stress and overwhelmment levels at the University of Waterloo. 88% of students say they felt overwhelmed in the last year, and this would be one way of fixing it. We are also getting a new registrar, so that's someone that we could work with to help implement this.
Great. Next question, Luke. In your platform, you mentioned that you will advocate for federal legislation to regulate international student tuition. Since all tuition is regulated at the provincial level, please explain why this would be a valid use of your time if elected. And the order will be Ranish, Stefan, Luke.
We do have a large international student population at the University of Waterloo, and I believe CASA would be a wonderful resource to use in order to connect with ministers and whatnot. But on the tuition level, just being inclusive, working with USA and when drafting together policy papers, just to include international students as well. Time.
So, yeah, absolutely. Tuition is at the provincial level. I mean, we can work with the federal government on some things, but tuition is really not one that will be regulated at the federal level. I don't really see how that would work at all. Having been at CASA last year, this isn't something that CASA would be able to lobby on, so I really don't think it would work, and I think it would generally be a waste of time to lobby the federal government on this issue. Thank you.
I think that we had to be very careful to rely on CASA for our advocacy issues, like both of you have been talking about. There's been a lot of talks about their relevancy. They also don't only focus on undergraduate students. The other thing that I would like to talk about here too is that international students kind of fall in this weird limbo place, and I think that working with the federal government as well as the provincial government is a great way to move forward, because international students need to be able to know what they're paying for school so they can come and be successful.
There are now 3 minutes for open debate.
Okay, going along the lines with that, but when it comes to tuition, what can the federal government do in order to help international students?
I think a lot of it is just starting the conversation and making people aware that this is a real issue, especially at our school because we have such a large international student base. This is definitely not a project that's going to happen overnight, and we need to make sure that we start somewhere. And starting with the federal government, which works at international students, is a good start. And then we can work. I know we can also work with the university that they have a set agreement on international student growth rates. So there's a lot of different ways to move forward with this. Working with the federal government is just one.
So working with whoa, go. We're wasting time.
So how do we lobby the federal government to help support people who don't vote? They look for people who vote to give them things so that they can win the next election. That's how politics usually works at the federal and provincial level. If we lobby and say, do this for international students who don't vote, how are they going to say, oh yeah, I should do this because, I'll get votes for this?
I think that's extremely short-sighted. 1 in 5 Canadians are first-generation immigrants. On top of that, we're bringing in very intelligent people from other countries that are coming here to learn and share their experiences with our students, which is extremely valuable. And on top of that, if they enjoy their experience here in Canada, they can stay and they can become an extremely effective member of our workforce and of our community, and that is extremely valuable. I think it's foolish and short-sighted to say that international students shouldn't have some help.
I agree. I just don't see how we can lobby the federal government on this issue. Another thing that for federal students that's just been announced very recently was switching to have all visas considered for multiple entry visas, which I think will be very, very beneficial for a lot of international students. And through my experience with CASA, that was something we lobbied on last November, and that was something effective. So this was one win for CASA in the past. It's not necessarily mean that we need to stay with CASA, but that's something that has worked in the past at the federal level.
How much do I have? Awesome. So again, I think the federal government or the federal level legislation can help with providing students or international students with more work opportunity, and I think the university as a whole can help with them, giving them part-time jobs here or whatnot. So improving the visas, just like Stefan stepped upon. But as of tuition, I just don't understand where that would fall under federal or how they would be lobbying for them in any way. Yeah, I think that was it. Time.
Thank you. Luke, you have 30 seconds to close.
So University of Waterloo is one of the most multicultural campuses in Canada, and I think this is something great and something that we need to protect and in fact encourage. And this means that we need to have a voice for international students at all levels of governments, regardless of what the issue is, whether it's visas, whether it's tuition. And just moving forward, I would love to see more of a relationship with this university, with this community, and international students.
Great. Final question for Ranish. In your platform, you discuss co-op housing support, which you have mentioned means support for students looking for housing on work terms in other cities. You state that this should be funded by co-op, but CECA is primarily funded through a non-student governed ancillary fee. Why should students pay for this service through a fee that they have no control over? And the order will be Stefan, Luke, Ranish.
So as a co-op student, I've looked for housing in many cities throughout my time as a co-op student, and it was fairly challenging, but it was manageable, and it does teach students about finding a place to live. It's a skill you'll need later on in life, and a little bit of support would be a good idea, but yeah, through the co-op fee, that doesn't make sense. It feels like it'd be something that the university with housing or could just add on to their website.
Instead of having the co-op department find housing for students, I think that we could provide training and tips on how to find housing. The other issue with this sort of idea is that where the problems are with students finding housing aren't in places like Toronto or other large cities that already have student housing set up. It's kind of the one-offs. And if you're just trying to help the one-off students, it's going to become extremely, extremely expensive. So instead, we just need to provide students with the proper training and skills to find their own housing.
I believe if we have a housing and residence office on campus, co-op students make a large proportion of the student body already. So supporting them, and if they're paying so much money for co-op itself, why not shift some, like a percentage of it or whatnot towards this service, so they don't live in sketchy houses when finding it off of Kijiji and that yellow sign Devin has. Okay. I'll come back to it.
There are now 3 minutes for open debate.
So the co-op job market has already become very oversaturated. We're seeing drops in employment rate as it is. My concern is that if we're increasing the fee, or if we're cutting money out of the already co-op fee that you're talking about, that there's going to be less resources to find these jobs. And I think that's the biggest current concern for students, is that they can actually get a job, because if they can't get a job, they don't need somewhere to live. On top of that, I don't know how effective this housing thing would be when a lot of students end up in Toronto or London, and there's already reasonably good housing established there because they're university towns. It's just not a cost-effective way of going about this. We need to provide training and skills for students to find houses instead.
Do we have stats on that? Like, that Toronto is the main. I want to support first-year students that are looking for housing elsewhere. And you're saying the job market's dropping or whatnot in regions close to Waterloo. So they're going out of province or out of town or out of the country to find these housing locations to live in. And why not support them? And the fee, about the fee. A lot of students don't end up with co-op jobs. So why not refund that money? So the co-op CECA is going to be they're already sitting on more money for the students that don't end up with jobs through JobMine. So either they refund that money, or they put this money towards providing the housing support, is what I'm trying to get at.
There you go.
Yeah, go ahead.
So employment rates across the board for co-op have fallen roughly 2% over the last 5 years or so. They're still roughly, I think, around 96.5, so still very good, but there's this concern of it continuing to fall. The idea of giving their feedback if students don't get to pay is concerning because that's 4.5% more that people don't have, and it's going to make it harder to get the second job.
So on the topic of co-op, I really feel that, and the potential dropping rate of percentage of hiring, I really feel that co-op needs to be at the table for when they're hiring students. It really concerns me that a faculty can admit as many students as they'd like, and then put them into co-op programs, and then co-op is just told to just find jobs for these people, and I don't think that's fair to co-op, and I think it will be really beneficial for students if they have the appropriate number of co-op students who are enrolled into co-op.
So it's not fair for co-op. I didn't get what you said, but I just want, well, I'm hoping to get the co-op. Oh my God, that sign. Okay, I'll wait.
Okay.
So if co-op housing is an issue for students, and it's something that we could help with a little bit, but the support would be challenging to implement, unfortunately. I've had a lot of co-ops elsewhere, and I know
Open debate is now closed. Ranish, you now have 30 seconds to close.
So I believe this is an important issue and a great support for co-op students. There's a on-campus entrepreneur who's working on co-op storage as well. So money can be shifted through co-op itself because there are a valid or like a large proportion of co-op students that do not end up with jobs through JobMine. So refunding that money or just telling the students that if we're not giving you your $600 back, it's going to go towards helping you in various other ways, whether it's co-op housing support. Got it in.
Okay. Thank you very much to the Vice President Education candidates for this debate. Unfortunately, we are over time, so we will not take any audience questions, so you're free to go. But I just wanted to say thank you to all of the candidates. Give them a big round of applause for the work they've done. And thank you to all of the audience members for coming and for all of those on our live stream for listening. Please enjoy the rest of the campaign, and remember to vote February 11th to 13th at vote.feds.ca.
Thank you, execs, for setting this up.
Come give Ranish a hug. Ranish will come to you and give you hugs.
I'm coming to you.
Oh.